Hello everyone and welcome back to the Bundesliga Show, brought to you by Over the Bar with your hosts, as always, myself, Rory Petre, and Mark Broadhurst in Germany. Welcome back everyone. The weather's starting to improve. The Bundesliga has produced the goods yet again. Man United have just trounced Spurs 3-1, deservedly so. So I'm absolutely buzzing. So everyone's happy. And we've got a guest on the show. So what could be better than watching a bit or chatting a bit of Bundesliga on the Bundesliga Show, of course. So obviously, if you're new to the show and you've never seen us before or Over the Bar and you like what you see, make sure to click the big red button and subscribe so that you don't miss out on any shows. We've got 2 shows out regularly a week and we're always working on new content. Obviously, things like our little video that we did with the 2 Bundesliga Podcast, which was really good fun. So yeah, go check out all of that on the Over the Bar YouTube channel. Without further ado, we'll go over to Mark to introduce the new anagram for this week and to reveal the answer of last week's anagram. So, Mark, over to you.
Okay, so let's start off with Mark's mystery anagram by recapping last week. So if you remember, guys, for those of you, the regulars and the people who watched it last week, let's have a look at a reminder of what last week's was. So it was Bad Man Stooped. And yeah, actually the correct answer was, it was a little bit of a hard one this week. I gave you guys a really, really tough one this week. And yeah, unfortunately, nobody got it right on the YouTube channel. It was indeed Edmund Tapsoba from Bayer Leverkusen. So yeah, unfortunately, nobody got it right this week. But yeah, let's move quickly on to this week, week 28 anagram. So let's have a look at the bottom of the screen. As you can see, it is Glamour's Disc this week. So yeah, obviously for those of you who are listening on the podcast, just take a pen and write down the first word is Glamours, which is Glamours. And the second word is Disc, which is DISK. So that's Glamour's Disc. Remember, all of the answers have to be related to the top tier of the Bundesliga, which is either a manager / coach, a player or a club related to the Bundesliga. So remember to comment on our YouTube channel. We always want you guys to comment as much as possible. So yeah, remember to do that. And for those of you listening on the podcast, just play along for your own enjoyment. Okay, so that concludes our anagram for this week. So let's start by recapping the scores on the doors from this fantastic week 28 of the Bundesliga action. So as you can see on the bottom of your screen, we started on Friday night with a massive 1-0 win for Bielefeld over Freiburg. Moving on to Saturday afternoon games, we had a 1-1 draw for FC Bayern Munich against Union Berlin. Then we had the game of the weekend, didn't disappoint. We had a brilliant 4-3 win for Eintracht Frankfurt over Wolfsburg. Then, yeah, another entertaining game, 2-2 between struggling Hertha Berlin and Borussia Mönchengladbach. Then we had a 4-1 away win for RB Leipzig in Werder Bremen. Then we had the late kickoff on Saturday evening, was another good game this weekend, a 3-2 win for European quarter-finalist Dortmund in Stuttgart. Then moving on to the Sunday games, the focus was mostly on the bottom of the league. We had only the second win of the season for Schalke, so congratulations to them. They got a 1-0 win over Augsburg. And then, yeah, we finished the Sunday with a brilliant 3-2 win for Mainz over struggling Koln. And obviously, just to remind you guys, we've only got 8 games this week because we've got tomorrow's game between Hoffenheim and Leverkusen will be a Monday night kickoff. Okay, so back over to you, Rory, to introduce our guest this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Just before I do, actually, though, I have to interject, Mark, that we did actually have an answer on the anagram. So apologies, Ian B, because Ian got it spot on. I thought for a minute, I'd just better double check. So Ian, apologies all round. Yeah. Well done for getting the anagram correct.
Champion of the anagram anyway. So
he is. Well done, absolutely. So yeah, well done, Ian. But yes, on to the guest. We're very lucky and happy to be joined by an Union Berlin fan this week. We've been looking out for some Union Berlin fans, obviously, because they've been having a really stellar season. And lo and behold, we've managed to get one. So we're going to bring in Michael now, who is an Union Berlin fan who lives in Glasgow, who obviously has followed them and kind of follows them through Twitter as well. So we'll bring him in now, and we'll obviously have a nice chat about Union.
Hello.
Hi guys, thanks for having me on. It's very surprising to be on a Bundesliga talk show talking about Union. So great to be here.
Yeah, we're big fans of Union on the OTB show. Actually, I'm the kind of my first team is FC Nuremberg, but Union Berlin's a team I kind of look for in the Bundesliga. So yeah, I'm happy to have you here.
Great stuff.
Good stuff. Okay, so let's quickly get on to OTB's featured 4. So obviously, which is actually going to be a featured 5 this week because we've had so many good games, and obviously we've got Michael on. So we're going to start with the game involving his team, which was obviously Bayern Munich versus Union Berlin. So I mean, it finished in a 1-1 draw. Some people might see that as a little bit surprising, but we'll go straight over to you, Michael. What did you make of that one?
I thought, to be fair, very, very good performance from Union. I like the way when Union go away from home, it's no one should be surprised that they don't concede many goals, even to Bayern, for example. Like, they sit in so compact, and it's actually really difficult to kind of break them down. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but it is whenever a team plays at Union, they seem to struggle to kind of break through the lines almost. And it's, to be fair, I don't think it's surprising at all. I'm actually quite upset that they didn't win, which is unbelievable to say. Yeah, but
Yeah, I think we were just chatting about it before we came live, actually. And Michael, I think it's a weird thing to say, obviously, from your point of view, that you're almost disappointed with a point away to the champions. Like how much, obviously, the expectations of this club have been rising, not only throughout the season, but throughout the last couple of seasons. So do you want to maybe just touch on a little bit about how this season's kind of rolled on and maybe how the players maybe started off with an aim of maybe just mid-table safety, and just as things have been going on, they've now been looking at chasing a top 6 spot. So do you think that's just helped the players' confidence along, and then as a result made their standards higher?
Definitely, I think so. I think the fans also are kind of the same way. I went into this season, I was kind of worried about it. We lost, obviously, Anderson. We lost Giekewitz last year, to probably, you would say, main players for us. But I think the recruitment from Urs Fischer in the summer was spot on. Max Kruse has been a revelation for us. It's Luther in goals as well. I thought Karius would be our number 1 this year.
Yeah.
Not turned out that way. Luther, very, very solid goalkeeper. Not as mad as Giekewitz, but here we are. Yeah, it was, to be fair, the aim for me was just to stay up again, pretty much. Would have loved to stay up again and get a cup run, obviously, went out to Leverkusen in the cup. But yeah, the league has been ridiculous. And I've been seeing UEFA Conference League predicted groups flashing around, and Union Berlin in with Hibs and stuff like that. It's crazy. And the first European first. Yeah, it has been, to be fair. But that, as I said, it's kind of, I've started to expect them to win against teams in the Bundesliga like Schalke, Koln, Bielefeld, all that. I'm going into these home games and I'm like, we should win today, which is unbelievable, to be fair, considering the rise. But I think tactically, Union get most games spot on. To be fair, I think everyone can kind of see that. So yeah, delighted, to be fair, with the season.
Yeah, and to be fair, I really love the intent showed by the side in a lot of games, and especially on Saturday, because obviously Union could have taken their medicine and right. The champions just want to come through here and get their three points and obviously go home. But obviously the equaliser comes from a bit of quick thinking, the quick throw in from, I think it's Tukert, puts it in behind a sleeping defence, really, you have to say, from Bayern to be hit from a throw-in that far down the line, down the touch line, which I think it's Andrić who's then in the area, pulls it back, which is then in turn put in by Inge Fartsen. And that's just that passion, that intensity to then go chase a game that against the champions, the relentless machine that is Bayern Munich, to take the game to them, I thought was really impressive. So yeah, I think that's a great way to approach things.
I really think it speaks volumes, the fact that we are confident to go to the Allianz Arena and play out from the back. Like, you've seen that in the first 5 minutes. They're knocking the ball about really well. Just Bayern are kind of sitting off a little bit. quite it's unreal, to be fair. I thought the 2 goals, so the Bayern goal and the Union goal, came from kind of sloppy defending. It was Union's only real mistake. Trimmel probably should have put his head through. It clears the first ball and then it comes back to him, and it's just but that's the one lapse of concentration leads to a goal, so you can respect the result and the fact that you'll just get punished if you make a mistake,
Yeah, and obviously unbeaten against FC Bayern Munich as well. Yeah. 2 draws. I mean, there's not many teams this season that'll say that, that's for sure. I mean, as far as I know, you're the only team so far that have gone both games without losing to Bayern. And I mean,
I believe Bielefeld as well, probably. Yeah. I think Bielefeld.
Yeah, no, I think they lost at home. They got the Bayern, but I think they lost at home. Yeah, so I mean, and I remember the game at home against Bayern. You were brilliant in that one as well. I remember you could have won that one easily as well. So it just kind of proves how far the team's gone. I mean, you got the win over Dortmund as well earlier in the season. So it's just, you don't only beat the smaller teams, you also give it to some teams as well, which must just be amazing as an Union fan. I mean, you've come a long way in 2 years, and I hope it continues for you guys. Well, what do you expect going forward then? Do you think that Union can continue to be a mid-table side, or do you think you'll be back struggling again next season?
So it depends on the recruitment, who we kind of keep, because last year I did think we'd struggle, but then the recruitment was spot on, and then we just kind of kicked on from there. I think, obviously, the more money you finish higher up the table, if Urs Fischer stays, his kind of tactics seem to work really well. The only thing I'm concerned about is teams that kind of will get wise to that eventually. And I'm always nervous, to be fair. I'm always nervous for the new season. Until you hit kind of 30, 40 points, I'm really nervous about it. But yeah, I'm really very confident with kind of this season anyway. I think we'll finish strongly, kind of six games to go. And then next season, it's kind of, I'll see how the summer goes, to be honest. I don't want to commit to anything crazy. Yeah.
Good stuff. And then two quick questions from me, Michael, just towards one, I'm going to ask for a prediction, and then the second one, well, I'll start with the first one actually, and in regards to actually where your support from Union has come from, because obviously, as you'll be able to, all our viewers will be able to tell from the accent, you're of course a Scottish of nature and you're living in Glasgow. So yeah, where did you start to follow Union Berlin from?
Yeah, so it's probably very similar to a lot of kind of stories. I was brought up a Celtic fan in Glasgow, so that's kind of all that I knew. Got a little bit older, was always interested in German history, learned about the Cold War, all that kind of thing in school. Really liked Berlin, really kind of fancied the city. Played a bit of Football Manager as well, much like a lot of people. I think they weren't even licensed. It was Berlin Kupenich Damfeld or something they were called. But yeah, just kind of always liked kind of German football. Never really had a team to support. It's kind of floating between, the usual. In Glasgow, there's a really weird phenomenon when it's either St. Pauli or Hamburg. If you go past any kind of Celtic and Rangers, basically, so if you go past any five-a-side pitch in Glasgow, there's a handful of St. Pauli, a handful of Hamburg shirts. It's really strange. But yeah, just kind of research and stuff like that. I really liked Berlin, looked into Hertha for a while, and then didn't really want to support them. So then kind of stumbled across Union, and then the more I read about them, the more kind of read about the fans. They were in the third division at that point as well, so it was kind of cool thing for me to do, And then just from there, just fell in love, became a member, became a season ticket holder as well. So I'm a season ticket holder, and then just trips across to watch them became kind of a thing that I like to do. So yeah,
brilliant. Well, yeah, as you mentioned, a potential third European competition starting next season with some interesting looking groups that you mentioned. So that could be amazing to have a bit of a European tour with Union in the future for sure. Could be interesting to see how they manage it if they are, because we have seen German teams struggle in that regard with regards to managing their squad. But that's for another time. Last question on Union then, Michael, I'm going to put you on the spot, as I love to do with everyone else. I'm just going to ask you, where do you think you're going to finish this season then?
This season we'll finish 7th. I think we'll maintain the position. We'll stay with 7th. I don't want to aim any higher than that just now. Okay.
Good stuff. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next Feature 4 game, which was, for me, this was the game of the weekend. This was a classic, really, between two really, really good Bundesliga sides. Frankfurt 4, Wolfsburg 3. I mean, this was a brilliant game. It was topsy-turvy with obviously Wolfsburg taking the lead very early on in this game. But then, I mean, Frankfurt doing what they do best, you know, I mean, they hit back. And for me, the man of this game was Andre Silva, really, leading the line. The assist for the second goal for Jovic was just outstanding, really. Did you catch that one, Michael?
I managed to catch some bootleg highlights of it. So I've kind of seen the goal. I didn't catch it. It wasn't on BT Player today for some reason. I tried to go back to watch it, but I did see the scoreline yesterday. I was actually really, really surprised that Wolfsburg conceded 4 goals, but obviously testament to Frankfurt.
Yeah,
very well. So
yeah, I think exactly what you say there, Michael, with regards to the scoreline being quite surprising. That, I mean, it's no surprise that it's high scoring with these two teams in terms of their attacking talents. But any side that puts 4 goals past this Wolfsburg defence this season is incredibly impressive, and the kind of the attacking threat that me and Mark have often talked about that Frankfurt possess really hit form again, and obviously going 1-0 down very early on could have been a real blow to the side, but the way they came back was incredibly impressive, I thought. Obviously, Kamada getting on the score sheet again was good. Silva leading from the front, linking up perfectly well with his new strike partner. Obviously, Luka Jovic having a good return to the club since coming back on loan from Real Madrid. Michael, what do you reckon with these two teams? I know Wolfsburg have got probably the harder running out of the two teams, and obviously we've got Dortmund chasing very hard, which obviously we'll talk about in a little bit because it's important for them to get top 4. Do you think either one is maybe going to struggle a little bit more with the last 6 games, give or take?
So I think Frankfurt will kick on now after that result. That's huge for them. So I think they will finish above Wolfsburg. To be fair, Dortmund, very up and down. I think Wolfsburg will also finish top 4. So I don't think, to be fair, the Wolfsburg defence was the thing that I'd always look out for. They're very, very good. But then they conceded 4. What happens after that, I don't know. But I think they'll be safe in the top 4.
Yeah, I mean, I think the worry for Wolfsburg now is I think me and Rory mentioned it in the predictions as well last week, that they do have a really difficult run-in. I mean, they've got Bayern at home next week. So, I mean, that's going to be a tough one as well, because I think obviously then all of a sudden if you lose 2 in a row, then you're starting to worry a little bit. And with Dortmund aren't going to go away as well, although they have been very inconsistent this season. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting run-in, really. I agree with you, though, Michael. I think both of these sides will get top 4. I think they've both been really, really good this season. I think, as you say, Wolfsburg are more kind of renowned for their defensive effort and Frankfurt for attacking play. So I mean, Frankfurt have just got goals from all angles, haven't they? Eric Durm getting another goal this weekend. He's got 4 or 5 from fullback as well. Obviously, we've talked a lot about Kostic. He's been brilliant this season. Kamada has finally decided to start scoring as well. Me and Rory always said how he missed a lot of chances. But I mean,
I think I'm surprised Jovic has actually been so good. I thought he would struggle a little bit coming back just for confidence and stuff like that, but really, really has kicked on. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's move on to another fantastic game this weekend, which also is kind of related to the European push, which was obviously Stuttgart 2, Dortmund 3. I mean, the thing that struck me from this game is I predicted that Dortmund would rest players, but we didn't see any of that on Saturday evening. We saw the big boys all starting, well, all of the fit big boys anyway. I mean, obviously Haaland starting, Bellingham starting, all of the big boys started pretty much. But I think, yeah, they got the result that they wanted, but again, more defensive problems for Dortmund. It's not been a good season defensively for the BVB at all. But I mean, I think for me, it was more a case of Stuttgart missing chances, specifically Koulibaly. I mean, he missed 2 great chances, specifically at 2-1 to Dortmund. He missed an absolute sitter from right in front of the goal. Michael, did you catch this one? What did you make?
Yeah, I did. So that Koulibaly chance there was a great move from Stuttgart as well, which was, was actually quite a shame. I'm not surprised that this one's high scoring because both defences quite ropey. To be nice, but I love watching Dortmund. I love them going forward. It's never a dull moment. See Haaland, Royce, Bellingham, Sancho when he's fit as well. It's just sensational to watch, So I'm not surprised that it was high scoring, but Yeah, I think Dortmund probably deserve to win, I'd say.
Yeah.
But yeah, Stuttgart did have a few chances. So,
they did, and I think we always expected this one to be a very open-ended game, and Stuttgart. I mean, in the prediction show that we did on Thursday live, I actually backed Stuttgart to win this 2-1, and when it 1-0 up, I was like, I'm going to get this one right. But so it's the standard go-to move for Stuttgart. Good old Sousa into Kleidzic, towering header. I mean, at first when he headers it looks like it's just going to go miles over. But he's so good in the air. He just loops it straight over the keeper. Hits again. I mean, hits obviously. He and Berkey are both not brilliant, not convincing, but they're sticking with hits at the moment. And then Dortmund do well to come back really quickly, get two quick goals after half time. Royce puts them into the lead, and then obviously there's obviously this balance between trying to see out the game or then chasing the third goal, and ultimately that's where they get caught. This kind of stuck in between. About 13 minutes to go, they give the ball away high up the pitch, and they've committed a lot of players. Stuttgart break brilliantly with pace. Koulibaly then puts in Didavi, and he does the rest with a really nice finish. Actually, one of the few counter-attacks and chances that Stuttgart were able to properly convert, which made it 2-2, and it could have quite easily seen it be a draw, and obviously the point only be 1 point for Dortmund, which ultimately wouldn't have been good enough. But then they obviously got out of jail thanks to another young striker on their books, which I don't know an awful lot about him. This Knauf, who is 19 years old. I think he's been in the setup for a couple of years now. Had a few minutes, give or take, but showed quite a lot of maturity, I thought, to take his chance, to obviously put it away for 3-2 and be obviously a huge result for Dortmund. Michael, I mean, did you see much of Knauf? And obviously the other name we've seen loads is Moukoko, but this lad could come and steal the show.
Yeah, to be fair, I hadn't really heard of him before yesterday. I know he'd had a couple of minutes here and there, but the finish was sensational. Took it like he'd been in the team the whole season, So yeah, really impressed. Is Moukoko, is he not injured?
Yeah, he is at the moment.
He might be, to be fair.
Yeah, I've seen highlights of him. He is ridiculous in the kind of the youth ranks, But yeah, I've never really heard of Knauf, but sensational finish, So thought so, yeah.
Yeah, but obviously that brings now Dortmund back to within 7 points of the European places. I mean, it's still, some would say it's a big ask, I mean, we've only got 6 more games. They've still got some difficult fixtures in there as well. They've still got to play Leipzig, Leverkusen. So, I mean, it's far from an easy, I think they've got to play Wolfsburg as well. So realistically for me, you're looking at 6 wins is the only way that Dortmund are going to get into that top 4 now. I think, Rory, would you expect them to get it now, or do you think it's too much to ask?
Well, given the games that you've just said, I didn't actually realise that they had that many teams left to play. But then again, they obviously have dropped a lot of points against so-called lesser teams. So I guess that's, the harder games that they've still got to play is fair. With those games that they've got left, I can't see them coming top 4. If I had my Dortmund shirt on, I would say yes, but it's not on today. So it might have to be Europa League football, I reckon.
Yeah.
They are also playing Union, so probably not.
There you go. Yeah, well, Union will do them as well.
Hard running.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, so let's move on to the next game, which was another game. There was no shortage of brilliant games this weekend. I mean, we billed this one as a game that really Hertha Berlin had to be trying to win. Obviously, Michael, they are your kind of arch rivals as well, Hertha, across the other side in the west of Berlin. I mean, this was a game for me, obviously, Jan Sommer getting sent off after only 13 minutes for a clumsy foul on Cordoba, although he would have scored the goal, so that would have made it 1-0. So I guess you could say that in the long run, maybe it worked out well. Then obviously Hertha Berlin taking the lead, but for me, they've got to be winning that game from there, really. I mean, the situation they're in, they've not won many games, especially at home this season. You're playing a Gladbach side who, we've talked a lot about them since Marco Rose announced that he was going to leave. They've not been great, have they, overall? they put a little bit of form together. They won the last 2 games, but admittedly only against Schalke and Freiburg. So, Michael, obviously as a rival of Union, would you have expected Hertha to go on and win that game from being 1-0 ahead, or do you think it's a good point?
Genuinely, when you get the keeper sent off within the first 15 minutes, you expect the other team to go on and kind of win. Sometimes it is quite difficult, though, especially Gladbach. You know, they are a quality side. Yeah. But I'm looking at the stats here. Hertha had 23 shots, like 63% possession. They obviously dominated the game, but just couldn't. I think they're lacking confidence, to be fair. It is difficult, and I don't think they really expected to be down there, considering the money that they've spent as well. So might be getting to them slightly, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I think well, you kind of strike a good point there, Michael. Definitely with regards to the money that they've spent, the quality of their squad that they have. In theory, they really shouldn't be anywhere near this kind of relegation race, and as a result of the Bielefeld and Mainz wins, they're right in the sticky stuff at the moment for sure. So it's looking not good. Looking at the game itself, obviously Gladbach did really well to come back from 1-0 down, but the 2 goals for me are really poor. Obviously the first one, their defense is really high up, and then Plie just pulls around the last defender and is obviously played on. He's just onside and then finishes well. Don't think there's any need to do that. You'll be able to. Obviously, there's probably the idea of trying to claim the ball back against a team that's got a man less and press well. But I think at times you've got to respect the opposition and know that Gladbach have got pace and they will use that on the break. So that's obviously the equaliser. And then obviously the second goal is a penalty, which Stindl, duly accepts and puts away. But it's a silly challenge really to be making by the captain as well, Stark in the area. Thuram is always winning penalties as well. He's always in the area, in those kind of areas and pockets. So yeah, for me, two very sloppy goals to concede. And as Michael's already mentioned, Hertha already had plenty of the ball there, lots of shots. They were obviously able to claim a point in the end, but definitely 2 points lost in that regard with the early sending off. So I'm sure Michael won't be too heartbroken by Hertha not getting a win, but definitely a bit of a reckless performance in the end from Hertha. I think they could have gone and controlled it a lot better. Probably a point for either side really isn't good enough at this stage. Both would be very disappointed, I reckon.
Yeah. And how do you feel, Michael? Do you want Hertha to get relegated, or would you be happy for them to stay up and obviously continue their rivalry with Union? Like, what's your take on that?
See, I really, really don't care, to be honest. Like, the rivalry's never really been a thing since Union got promoted to the Bundesliga. We obviously had the Zweite Bundesliga one a few years ago, but it was never hostile or anything. It was kind of the last Union game I actually went to was the derby at home when Union won 1-0. And that was the kind of first time I felt ill feeling towards Hertha, so I really don't care.
That is the impression we get from a lot of fans actually, because myself and Mark did a bit of research into the Berlin derby and did an episode which everyone can go out and go check out at some point. But as we discovered, there isn't an awful lot of animosity, and it has kind of caught fire to a certain extent in the most recent kind of years of the Bundesliga games and stuff. So yeah, I understand your viewpoint there, Michael, that by the not huge kind of rivalry or kind of caring by what your rivals technically kind of do.
Yeah, I think the Bundesliga wanted to catch fire, that's for sure. But because obviously a capital derby is really, really big for anyone. Obviously, London's got a lot, Madrid's got a lot, even Lisbon and some of and obviously Glasgow, where you're from, Michael, the biggest of them all, So I think for the Bundesliga's sake, they do want a capital derby, but I think it'll take a bit more time for the derby to develop, because I think you've only played last week's was only the 6th competitive meeting between the sides. Yeah. I think the Bundesliga kind of social media wanted it to happen. Yeah.
I've seen more animosity on social media than I have in kind of speaking to people. So it's one of those ones, to be fair. It will grow organically, I think, especially if they meet more. But right now, I just don't really care.
Fair point. Okay, so on to the fifth featured game of the week. I mean, we thought it couldn't get any better on the Saturday, but it did really with the Sunday game, didn't it? I mean, we bill this one as a massive game between Cologne and Mainz. I mean, obviously with Mainz's running, I mean, I think they played Dortmund, Bayern, Wolfsburg, and Frankfurt in the last 4 games. So, I mean, they've got to pick up the points before that. And obviously, they did do that right at the very, very end, didn't they? I mean, obviously, Lucas Barreiro, he missed a couple of sitters last week against Bielefeld, but he did the business today with a massive last-minute goal, really. Michael, how do you think that can impact on the bottom end of the table, that result?
So, I think it will give Mainz confidence. Obviously, it's not great for Koln and Bielefeld, to be fair. I'm just looking at the table here. Mainz have shot up to 14th, which is obviously a huge confidence boost. Great finish as well. The third goal, great finish. Yeah. And they'll be quite disheartened. They conceded that penalty, obviously, in the game as well, which probably could be argued that it wasn't a penalty. But yeah, I think I really like watching Mainz as well. From what I've seen of them, I like them going forward. I really do. Bocius, obviously, he's great finish as well today, but yeah, I think Mainz will be safe. I really do.
Yeah. Sorry, go on, Mark.
Oh, no. Yeah, they've got a lot of quality going forward. I mean, obviously, they sold Mateta, which we kind of tipped was the end of them, really, back in January. But I mean, they've got so much quality going forward. They score goals, they attack well. Some people would say the game management isn't the best at times, because they do give away leads at bad times. But yeah, today, I mean, the penalty was harsh against them. I mean, that's the kind of thing that happens to teams down at the bottom, isn't it? Then obviously going behind just after half-time. But I mean, they've shown real character there to come back and win the game. I mean, that's massive for them. And as you say, 5 points clear now of Cologne. So that's a big mountain to climb, really, for Cologne, who haven't won for a good while now, have they, really? So
yeah, it's looking a bit dodgy now for Cologne, isn't it? It is a really bad weekend for them in terms of the results. Obviously, Bielefeld did what they could on Friday and got an important win. Hertha at least got a point, and obviously Mainz have struck out again. Obviously, Bielefeld are as high as 14th on Friday night, and now they're back in the relegation playoff play, so they'll not be happy with those results. But that's what you have to do in these sort of relegation races, especially ones that are this tight. You just have to week in, week out try and, even if you play awful, you just have to try and get some sort of point from a game. But to be fair, Mainz, like you say, going forward, they've really trying to show a bit of freedom, try and show that kind of carefree attitude, which has seen them beat off a lot of big teams, as we've seen. And obviously, today's result is as big as it comes in terms of the relegation race. And in theory as well, so we've got these 4 teams fighting it out for 1 automatic relegation place and then 1 playoff place. But again, looking at the table now, obviously Werder Bremen's form, interestingly, they've been playing okay football, but now they're only 2 points ahead of Mainz. They're again being sucked into it. Hoffenheim do have a game in hand, but are also on 30 points. So obviously, the more that these relegation teams pick up points, it is going to draw in those sort of teams, the likes of Hoffenheim and Werder. Obviously, me and Mark have talked about Werder, that they've had a much better season. But if their form capitulates in these next 6 games, they could well find themselves back in the relegation playoff place. So I think this relegation race has a lot of legs on it with 6 games to go for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so that pretty much concludes our featured 5. So thank you very much to Michael for joining us. I mean, it was great to hear your take on the 5 games, especially obviously the Union Berlin game. So thanks a lot for joining us, and we hope you can join us again sometime in the future.
All right, perfect, guys. Thank you. Great to talk.
Thanks, Michael. Nice one.
Right,
take care,
guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so let's swiftly move on and complete the game. So obviously there are only another 3 games that we haven't mentioned yet, and most of those games weren't overly eventful. So let's start obviously with the Friday night game, which was a 1-0 win for Bielefeld over Freiburg. I mean, I would say this was a horrible game of football to watch, to be honest with you. But I mean, what a massive result for Bielefeld. Obviously, Santa Maria has not had the best couple of weeks, really, has he? I mean, he got an own goal last week, which was chalked off. And then he's banged in another own goal this week, which has given a massive win for Bielefeld. I mean, obviously, at the time, as Rory said, that catapulted them up to 14th before this weekend's games. I mean, it wasn't the best performance of the season by any means. They played better and lost this season. But I mean, I don't think they'll get a bigger 3 points all season, Rory, than that one.
Yeah, very important indeed. Again, we talked about it on Thursday about how it's probably one of those sort of games that they could look to get points from, and they duly did. Just kept it tight for as long as possible. As you said, bit of a cagey game, really. Not loads of quality, a few chances here and there. I think Doan was heavily involved in a lot of the game. I think obviously Freiburg had a few chances. Santa Maria was actually quite lively in the game, but obviously did then end up putting the ball into the back of his own net from a short corner as well, actually, which I thought was actually quite well worked. I think it's Okugawa that has the actual attempt itself, which looks goal bound in fairness, but obviously does take a big deflection. And when you're at the bottom of the table and you don't always get lots of goals like Bielefeld, you will take any goal in any shape or form. So yeah, they'll be absolutely pleased with that. Obviously they did well, I think they thought at first that they did have a second goal when Nielsen looks like he outjumps Muller for the second for a header and gets in the back of the net, but it's given offside. I don't think it should have been given as a foul, so they got away with one really there, Freiburg. But yeah, very important win, but they need 3 more maybe. At the very least. So yeah, work still to do.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously we've talked a lot that the running is very, very desirable. I mean, they play a lot of mid-table kind of teams, and they don't play any of that top 6. So I mean, that's absolutely massive, really. You know, so there are going to be, I would say, every game is realistically winnable. You know, from now to the end of the season. So I mean, they're going to be really happy with the way things are progressing, even though obviously they have dropped back into that relegation playoff place. I mean, the next 2 games are against Augsburg and Schalke. I mean, another 4 points from those games, and it's going to be looking really good all of a sudden for them, I think. And I mean, obviously, as Rory has said a few times, like they would be happy with 3rd from bottom. But I mean, if they can climb to 4th from bottom, that'd be an outstanding season for me, really. It's just, yeah, I mean, you don't want to end up getting involved with that 2-legged playoff, do you? Because I mean, obviously, it is one decision can end your season in disaster, really, you know. So I mean, obviously, you do want to avoid it, but they take that over the automatic relegation slot, which is starting to look increasingly like Koln at the minute, really, isn't it? I mean, 3 points adrift now. They've lost that game in the last minute, which was massive. They have a mixed final 6 games. They have some top teams and some lower teams. So for me, it's starting to look a bit ominous for them, really. But I think that 3rd from bottom could be anyone, really, at the minute. Yeah. That could be anyone from even Augsburg. The results haven't gone well for them this weekend either. Obviously, they lost, which we'll talk about in a minute, and they can't be considered 100% out of it, especially if they lose to Bielefeld next week. Okay, so obviously let's move on to probably the best game that we had to miss out, which was indeed a 4-1 win for Leipzig in Werder Bremen, which had implications at both ends of the table. I mean, Leipzig, for me, they played in this game like a team that had got a massive weight lifted off the shoulder because they felt like they weren't in the relegation, they weren't in the title race anymore. And now, obviously, with Bayern unexpectedly dropping points, they kind of are back in the title race again, albeit on the periphery, I would say. But, I mean, this is what Leipzig can do when the pressure's not on, Rory.
Yeah, you actually took the words right out of my mouth there with regards to how they did play like a team that didn't have any worries, no pressure on them, and they produced some lovely football, to be fair. That first goal from Campbell, the 1-2 into Sabitzer, the flick from Olmo, back to Campbell, then into Olmo, and the finish. I mean, that is pure football, to be fair to them. Really, really good stuff. And then Sorloth obviously helped himself to 2 goals, obviously one being a tap-in, but his header was a well-directed one from another assist from Nkunku. And then Sabitzer tapped home in the second half to restore their 3-goal lead after Rashica had scored a penalty from a handball. But yeah, completely controlled the game. Really impressive performance. We kind of theorised that this might be a tighter game than certainly 4-1. But yeah, as a result, you know, it kind of opens things up a little bit more. Obviously, Bayern have got all the cards still, but Leipzig could do something special. You never know. One win and a loss either way cuts it to 2 points. Then you're really game on. So we'll have to watch it closely. And yeah, as we were just saying, Werder's form in terms of results, has really dropped. But their performances have been okay. They have been okay, but the results have obviously really dropped off a cliff. And as a result, because of the teams below them winning, they're now back in this kind of the mix for certainly the 16th place. They're 4 points adrift of it at the moment. But, you know, like we said, if Bielefeld get that one win, if Hertha pick up a win, then they're right in the mix. And if your form's bad going into the rest of the season, you're starting to look over your shoulder a bit and start to worry, and players haven't got confidence, they could be dragged into another relegation race. So, work to do for them.
Yeah, I think the issue for Werder is they just don't score goals, really, do they? I mean, how many times this season have they scored more than one goal? I bet it's less than 5, to be honest with you, you know. It's just they don't score enough goals. As you say, the football's not terrible and they're relatively solid at the back, although they got battered. But they hit a red-hot Leipzig in this game. I mean, they didn't really have any chance, as you say. Like, this was one of Leipzig's best performances of the season, hands down. And I just hope they can continue that to the end of the season, because I still think Bayern will drop points, in my view. It's been a strange season for Bayern. Bayern have obviously got issues behind the scenes as well. There's big talk that Salih Hamzic, the sporting director, and Hansi Flick are just not getting on at all now. And there are even reports in Germany that like the relationship's beyond repair at the minute. And there are big talks that Hansi could go at the end of the season to the German national team. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's not all is right and rain at FC Bayern Munich. So there is still a chance he could drop points. So, like, let's hope that Leipzig can keep this level of performance going for another 5-6 games. Okay, so the final game, most people would say it was a relatively insignificant game. It was a Sunday one. I mean, for Schalke fans, their players were celebrating like they just won the league at the end of that game. To be honest, they were so happy just to get the second win of the season, the second win in 15 months as well. I mean, it is a big result for them, really, because it gives them a little bit of confidence going into the next season, because they are relegated, let's be honest. I think they could actually still mathematically go down next week, actually, if they lose the game against I can't remember who they play, actually, but yeah, if they lose that, they will go down. So, But yeah, I mean, obviously it is a win. Serdar getting the goal, obviously from a mistake from Klimovich. Again, another goalkeeping error, another poor goalkeeping error. Augsburg will just be thinking how they didn't score, really. But fair play to Schalke. They dug in. They didn't want to concede. They were playing like a team that wanted to play for pride, and they got that win, Rory.
Yeah, again, a positive impact, I think you can say, being made by Huntelaar. It's, he finds the man who in the end puts the cross in, which is fumbled, and Serdar puts it in the back of the net. So obviously a positive start in that regard. And he also had a few chances, Huntelaar himself. He did drag one wide of goal. But yeah, Augsburg probably thinking how they didn't win or at least get a goal. So that obviously be disappointing from their point of view. To be frankly honest, I hadn't even realised that Schalke weren't even mathematically down yet. I just assumed that they were. But yeah, it obviously will be confirmed in either next week or the week, weeks to come. They are down. Augsburg, obviously, results haven't gone their way this weekend. I mean, even though they're only 2 points ahead of Werder and Hoffenheim, I don't think they'll get dragged in. Obviously, we've talked about their ability to win when they need to, and I think they'll be good for another couple of wins and they'll be fine. They might not even need to do that, give or take. We'll have to see. But yeah, obviously positive for Schalke. Obviously, it's good for their fans to be able to celebrate a win in what's been a really miserable time for them. They've just got to look to the future now and how they're going to deal with being in Zweite Bundesliga.
Absolutely, and obviously tomorrow night to complete the game of fixtures is another reminder: Hoffenheim versus Leverkusen. So yeah, so let's move on to the hero and zero of the week, which has been for me one of the best weeks of the Bundesliga season so far. So let's start with Rory for the hero then.
Yeah, it has been a great weekend. Lots of good performances, but I thought the real standout performance was Andre Silva yet again, in a game where obviously his team needed him to lead from the front. He did so. He got got his goal and then was able to provide, I think it was 2 assists, but certainly 1 assist, which was of real high quality, and obviously led his team to an incredibly important win against a great side in Wolfsburg. So yeah, hero, absolutely well deserved, Andre Silva.
Yeah. And obviously, I'll introduce the 0. I mean, for me, again, it was there weren't many terrible mistakes, but I mean, it was the goalkeepers once again who didn't really cover themselves in glory. I mean, I think a lot of Bundesliga teams are going to have to get the scouts out looking for goalkeepers this summer, to be honest with you. I mean, for me, Jan Sommer is probably one of the better goalkeepers in the Bundesliga, but this week wasn't one of his better weeks. I mean, obviously, taking Cordoba out when he was about to tap in, he'd gone round him and he just took him out. He knew that it was going to be a red card, but it left his team with an uphill task. But I mean, obviously they did get a point in the end, but still, he's going to miss the next game. And yeah, all around, not a good day for Jan Sommer. So that brings to the end our show for the week. But let's just finish by recap it by having a look at the Twitter feed. It's at Over the Bar FB. So remember, you can see anything Bundesliga related on that chat on the feed. We've obviously got the Bundesliga 2 show as well, which went down really, really well. We've got a lot of stuff related to League One. We do a live show for League One as well every Wednesday night, so check that out. We also do the prediction show live now, starting from last week. We had a really good first week of that, so join us again, guys, on Thursday. We'll announce the time on the Twitter, so just remember that. Then obviously we've got otbfootball.net, which is the main website. Check that out as well. You can see everything that we do at Over the Bar. So it's been a fantastic week 28. Everything is still on. The European places, the title is back on as well now. The relegation is perhaps going to be the most exciting over the next 6 weeks. So yeah, remember to join us again on Thursday for the predictions for week 29, which will be next week. So all the best.
Thanks all.